Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton and Jamin with you here on Supply Chain Now, today's live stream. Welcome to the show. Jamin, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing
Excited for
fantastic.
this live show.
Well, we've had so much fun with your first couple of podcasts on your new series, which we'll touch on in just a minute. But, love the spirit and the vibe you bring. And we've got an outstanding conversation teed up for today, which we'll tackle in we'll tee up in just a second. But this is our new regular weekly live stream, our new second one we're adding to the schedule. So Thursdays at 12 noon. And Jamin, we're taking a bit of a Baskin-Robbins approach. So from week to week, it's going to be a different theme. Some days it may be Rocky Road. Some days it may
31 flavors.
31 flavors and then some. But we're going to be tackling some different topics each week. This episode here, our leadoff episode, it's all about two of the great people in the world of logistics and transportation, right?
Oh, yes. And there are so many. So just like you said, this is just but two of them, but two very special ones. So I'm excited for everyone to meet them. And even if people already know them, to maybe learn some different things, to see a different side of them that they hadn't seen before.
Absolutely. And we're going to work hard to make that happen, as well as to increase our audience's supply chain IQ. Always one of our main goals here. All right, real quick. And hello, Stefan. Great to have you. Your ears may have been burning. We were talking about Dallas and Texas earlier. Kristen, hello from Peru. Great to have you joined us via LinkedIn. All right, so Jamin, real quick before we bring on our guest, tell us about this new series, the Jamin Logistics and Transportation Experience.
Yes, so it is on the great Supply Chain Now platform, and really grateful to be a part of the squad, the team, learning a lot from everyone. And the series, this podcast series, supply chain, logistics, and transportation specifically, which has been my world for the last 15, 16 years, there's a lot of neat things happening right now. There's in freight tech, or just the freight world in general, autonomous vehicles coming into transportation. There's a lot going on. And with that, there's a lot of disruption also, for reasons we're all aware of. Don't need to spend much time on that. So we kind of can go either way right now with all this disruption and new things coming in. That can be very scary and hard to adapt with, or it can be the best thing ever. And I think for it to be the best thing ever, we can come together. There's so many great people in our industry. And so this podcast will highlight those great people and the way they think, and the way they operate, and what's allowed them through their careers to adapt and to thrive, so that, frankly, we can copy them. We can learn from each other. And along the way of learning, it'll be a way to get to see maybe a different side of people in our industry, so that we can connect with them best. So that's what I'm really hoping to showcase and create a platform for just the amazing people in our industry, to share their mindset with us, and we can copy them.
Love it. Adapt and thrive. Adapt and thrive. Picking up best practices, whether it's two leaders that we'll have on the show today, or some of these future podcasts you'll be releasing. Hey, real quick, let's say hello to a bunch of folks logging in now. Tim Ingram, he says, "Good day, fellow loggies." Logisticians, maybe. Tim, great to have you here.
I like
it. Sophia's with us. Sophia, great write-up on the webinar from yesterday. Really appreciate you sharing that in the Supply Chain Now Insiders. We had a great webinar on post-pandemic supply chain environment, especially from a procurement and sourcing standpoint. So great stuff there, Sophia. Pat, hello from Kansas City. So Pat might know Trey, one of our guests here. Who knows? Maybe another Chiefs fan. Let's see. Shakun, hello from LinkedIn. Great to have you here. Gata, great to have you via LinkedIn as well. And Johan, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, one final programming note, and we're going to bring Nicole and Trey on, is, if you enjoyed today's live stream, check out our podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Today, we published, hey, look, I'm partial, but it was an awesome interview with Rick Blasgen, President CEO with CSCMP. And I'll tell you, I thought I was passionate about supply chain. he blew me and Greg off the map. I mean, just really on point thought leadership about a global industry, and it's no wonder why CSCMP is on the move that they are. So check that out wherever you get your podcast from. Rick Blasgen, President CEO with CSCMP, does a great job. All right, a couple other quick hellos. Jasmine, great to have you here via LinkedIn. Jose, via LinkedIn, great to have you here. Chris Jolly, the Freight Podcast, great to have you here, Chris, again, after joining us on the Buzz as well. All right, so let's bring in our two featured guests, Jamin. Really excited about having Nicole Glenn, owner of Candor Expedite, with us, as well as Trey Griggs, Vice President with Lean Sales, a division of Lean Staffing Solutions. Hey, good afternoon, Nicole and Trey.
Thanks for having us. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, we're excited to have you. Jamin has got some tough questions for you both, and to our audience. Hey, you'll hear the questions that Jamin poses to Nicole and Trey. Would love to have y'all weigh in as well. Make this a really a fun, interactive conversation with a couple hundred people sitting around the kitchen table talking about supply chain. So, Jamin, with no further ado, I'm going to let you dive right in.
I love how you put that, Scott, around the kitchen table. I like that. And I will, maybe this is a little too behind the scenes, but you coached me up real well, Scott, as I was a little nervous, starting to do lives and all this. But you shared something with me that I want to lean on, thank the audience that's watching, and invite participation, because as you put it, Scott, that's really the third guest. So these questions are truly meant for everybody, not just Nicole and Trey. But while I'm super pumped to hear what they got to say. So yeah, throw some comments, and like Pat already. Thanks, Pat.
All right. So we've got the 20 questions teed up. Where are we starting, Jamin?
Let's start from the childhood. So let's go. What was your favorite toy as a kid? And we'll start with you, Nicole.
This was a hard one, thinking about this, because I remember back in the day when Nintendo was the cool thing. So I was part of that era, and very lucky when the Super Mario 3 game came out. I remember my mom purchased it. I saw it, and I was like, can we play that today? She's like, no, the holiday's not until this day. So she was kind of like teasing us. So Nintendo was a huge factor of really my brother and sister, all of us getting together and playing. A little different. We had the lockdown, it's not like today with kids where
sure
spent your whole day there. But, when you came home at night and kind of had that settle down time, we were all Tecmo Bowl, Super Mario. So I have to call it out as my favorite.
I was a big Duck Hunt guy.
Oh, yeah.
Love Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
Trey, how about you?
You were a Duck Hunt guy because that was the game that came with the system, so everybody played that, right? That
Exactly.
was everybody's game. I remember that.
Yeah.
I went back a little further than Nicole. I wasn't a video gamer. I was always out like playing basketball or some sports or something like that. But I actually thought back to, do you guys remember those three-wheelers? Those like plastic three-wheelers with the pedals on the front and the brake? Yes. And you could like go fast and whip it to the right and with the brake and slide around. That was like my favorite toy for a long time. And that goes way back, of course. I mean, I stopped riding when I was about 12, but it was fun up to that point.
It was the big wheel. It was the big
wheel. Yeah, that's what it is. I was trying to think of the name. I'm like, what was the name of that thing? But I remembered it like it was yesterday. Just whipping it around and cranking that brake.
So hang on a sec. Hang on. Trey, you rode that until you were 12 years old. That was what
I was small. I was small enough. I was a pretty small kid. I could have probably ridden it until I was 12, but no, I gave that up probably, elementary school. That wasn't cool anymore. Right. So I'm going to move on.
That's great. We got any fun toys in the comments?
Well, so like you, Trey, Keith Duckworth was a big fan of the big wheel.
Yeah, Keith.
And, there was and Andres, hello from Miami. Great to have you here with us, Andres. Yeah, there was a specific big wheel called the Sidewinder. I don't know if y'all remember this. I know there was 1,000 of them. And you'd pull the handle or one of the handles, and you could move a little bit laterally. So,
I totally got gypped. I missed out on that one.
I promise I'm not. Yeah. Hey, I'm not a big wheel aficionado, but that was one that stuck out. And Nicole, I love how you called out Tecmo Bowl because for sports buffs, that was an all-time
That
classic.
was the original.
Always
Yeah.
the Bears. It was always like Willie Golf, like always this Walter Payton. So, I mean, this is back in the day. Metroid. I don't know if you guys ever played any of those games, but I would just nerd out and play some of that on occasion. It's great.
The classics.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll keep it rolling. We're before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the information, we'll give another little softball from childhood here. What was your favorite meal? Not now, but as a kid. And we'll start with you, Nicole. What was your favorite meal as a kid?
Do you know how kids nowadays can get fast food and it just becomes, it's whatever. It's kind of like your parents normally do that for you. We only got fast food when it was like a special occasion. So when we went to McDonald's and I got to have chicken McNuggets, like life was amazing. It's not like today where they have all these opportunity to go here and here and here. I mean, we ate dinner at home really 5 nights a week. Well, I should take that back. 7 nights a week.
7 nights a week. Yeah.
It was just a rare occasion that we got to do that. But I do have to give props. I have a Sicilian mother. So she has now tainted me on Italian food. I can't eat it anywhere else. That woman can cook. She could cook. She could cook. So her spaghetti, if I'm going to say anything, is her gravy going with the Italian phrasing. Ultimately.
That's good.
Yeah. Still
Tough to beat.
Yeah, you can't. I'm tainted.
All right. How about you, Trey?
Yeah, so for me, this is going to sound really plain, but I got a good story to go with it, and it was hot dogs. And let me tell you why that is. My parents divorced when I was 7. I actually lived with my dad, and he was a single dad. He drove a 20-foot box truck around the city. He's a local truck driver, and he would come home every night, and he would cook me a hot meal. But my dad's specialty was this. He could make about 5 different meals using a hot dog, and they were all unique. So, we had something called a Texas hot dog. If you've never had that, you take a hot dog, you cut it down the middle, but you leave the ends attached, squeeze it together to form a circle, fill it with mashed potatoes, put some cheese on top, put it in the microwave to melt it, and it looks like a cowboy hat. Like my dad was tremendous at coming up with these different recipes with a hot dog. And so as I thought back to that, honestly, I mean, it's kind of lame, but I miss those meals. Those were good meals, good times with my dad.
Hey, Mark asked, can he place an order with us between Nicole's Italian food and Trey's Texas hot dog?
Mark, I know Mark. Hey, Mark, I can cook you up some Texas hot dog, man. We just got to get in the same room. We still have a basketball game to play, and we can eat those hot dogs. Absolutely.
I will say now that I've moved to Texas, I've missed a lot of Chicago food. My parents are in Chicago, so now I am a fan of having the cooler packed with mom's spaghetti, Lou Malnati's pizza, some Portillo's beef. So maybe, Mark, we can make that happen as long as you can accept a cooler delivery. Yeah.
We have a sweet tooth in the group as well. So Sophia said Reese's.
Sophia's my girl. Yes.
Peanut butter cups.
Yeah.
Chocolate and peanut butter truly is the best combination in the world. I mean, second only to chocolate and mint, in my opinion. So, Sophia, I'm with you on that.
In the freezer, Sophia, in the freezer.
Oh, that does make them better. I agree there. All right. So let's now we're going to advance a little bit. Now let's think teenage years. Is there a lesson you learned in your teenage years that you find yourself throughout your logistics and transportation career referring back to that was impactful to you? Trey, why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, probably this is kind of an embarrassing story, but it had such a huge impact. My junior year, I got to move up to the varsity basketball team. We had 9 seniors the previous year, so the JV essentially got bumped up to varsity, and we were horrible. I mean, we were terrible. We started the season 0-5. We were losing to teams that had no right, beating us as a program. We had a very established program. So one day in practice, coach was just riding me. I mean, he was like a Bobby Knight, personality. So he was riding me in practice, and I literally, I reached my breaking point, and I started crying. And there's nothing worse than being a junior in high school crying in basketball practice. I mean, that's the end game right there. So he set me off to the side, and the whole practice, I just kind of just lamented, I guess, the whole thing. After practice, he brought me down into his office, and he said, "Trey," he goes, "Why do I yell at you? Why do I get on your case?" And I'm like, "I don't know, coach." I'm crying. And then he started naming these other guys on the team, and he said, "Do I get on him?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Do I get on him?" "No." And he goes, "Listen, they've reached their full potential in my eyes, but you have so much more and I got to draw it out.
Mm.
And he goes, the day you need to be concerned about is the day that I stop writing you, the day that I stop, getting on your case. And it just changed my perspective on accepting coaching and on people who believe in me. And even though it comes in different ways and, yelling is kind of it's kind of faux pas now. People don't do that anymore. But the idea that somebody would pour into me because they believed in me was really powerful. So now I look for those people who believe in me, who will pour into me, because that's going to make me better. And now that I'm getting a little older, I'm kind of returning, the favor and finding those people that I can pour into. And it's okay to be a little tough on people because that really means you care and you want to draw more out of them. It's when you stop doing that you've kind of lost faith that they can go any further. And so that was a big lesson for me in high school.
Hey, if I can weigh in real quick, Jamin, before we get Nicole's
Absolutely.
take. First off, Greg White is in the audience. He's our resident Chiefs fan here at Supply Chain Now, so he's giving some shout outs. Trey,
how about those Chiefs?
Hey, Trey, the other quick question get your Reader's Digest answer to is, coaching. You mentioned Bobby Knight, that throwback type of style. Coaching goes far beyond sports. I mean, it certainly applies and is alive and well in the business world. What's one thing that you think has had to change about coaching to be more effective in 2020 with the landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, I think social media has had a huge impact in many facets, but it's just created transparency. It's created kind of this openness. And so a lot of those things that maybe those techniques that happened in the, in the gym when no one was watching to get the most, like in high school, we used to get paddled at the end of practice with a wood racquetball paddle. Jamin, I know you still listen, here's how it worked. We all would get in line on the free throw line. All right. We had to shoot a 1-on-1 and we had to make both. If we made the first, missed the second, we got one swat, we had to go to the back of the line. If we missed the first, we got two swats, had to go to the back of the line. You didn't get to leave practice till you made two. Well, guess what? We were good free throw shooters. All right. Now, that method is not going to happen today because of the transparency I think that social media has created and the having a video on hand. That everybody's got the ability to record a video. So it's changed, I think, the way that coaching has to be done. But I guess to put it in short, it's become much more I think empathetic and personal as opposed to win and hard nosed. I still think that you can be hard nosed, but there's got to be more of a relationship now because people are going to see everything. And I knew that my coach cared for me. I knew that he would do anything for me. And we played for him because we believed that about him. He had built that relationship. On the outside, people didn't see that. So I think it's just had to become much more relationship oriented and just because of the transparency factor, just cleaner. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we were good free throw shooters. I can tell you that. I bet.
I'd like to elaborate on my thoughts with that question too. I think now with actually social media having the capabilities of continually learning, whether it's a show like this or our favorite authors that are talking about leadership available. It's constantly available. I mean, I don't know if you guys scroll through your LinkedIn and what do you see? You see so many great quotes and concepts on empathy, emotional intelligence. Some of my favorite writers like John C. Maxwell used to just be a book and I'd have to say I'm reading this book and now it's everywhere. And so I think people are starting to really see and understand what it is to be an empathetic leader and how to do that. I mean, Simon Sinek is putting it out there on how to treat your people. 10 years ago, that wasn't in your face as a business leader. You just went with your gut and you did what you learned from maybe previous mentors. But now it's just a constant learning phase. And I think it's making business leaders a lot better.
Hey, can I throw one more thing on that, Nicole? I think that's a great point. And it's interesting to me because when you're in high school and college, you always have a coach. If you're playing a sport, if you're learning an instrument, or if you're in debate, you always have a coach who's helping you along the way. And then we graduate, and it's like we don't need a coach anymore. And I think that's the prevalent philosophy among businesses and organizations, among leaders, and among people. And I think that's starting to shift where you have these resources available, and people are going, wait, I can make myself better. And organizations are saying, hey, if I invest in coaching for my people, I'm going to get more out of them, especially when I don't have time to do that. And they're starting to put an emphasis on that. And I love to see that because you look at LeBron James, he's got a shooting coach. You look at Tom Brady, he's got a throwing coach. These are the guys are the best of the best. Tiger Woods has a swing coach. These people know how to do it better than anybody on the planet, and they still have a coach. And so it's incredibly valuable, and it's exciting to have these resources just available. There's really no excuse anymore not to get better.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well put. Hey, real quick. So Pat, love the empathy word, Nicole. Love that you bring that up. And I don't mean to, it's not a word. It's action, right? You put it in action. Pat says empathy is huge. It's huge in every business, but particularly our industry. Well put there. And Greg White mentioned something, especially here at the tail end, where he kind of switches things around and challenges folks to have empathy for other folks' management and leadership style. I think that's a really interesting, unique take. Something I hadn't really thought about as much. And then one final comment, and we'll keep driving here, Jamin. Keith Duckworth says, a great basketball coach is the late, great John Wooden. Set the bar high, expect the players to reach it, and give them respect along the way. Well put there, Keith.
Yes, anytime we're bringing in a John Wooden quote, I'm all in.
Yes, that's
all
right.
in. I mean, who teaches their players how to put their socks on and tie their shoes is a basketball coach, and he just the attention to detail and doing everything right. And then I loved watching him in games because he just literally sat there and watched the game. He didn't coach. I think the only person who's done that recently is Mike Krzyzewski in 2001. He said he sat and he would literally only coach about 5 to 10 minutes of the game because they did such a good job of preparation and practice. That's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. All right, Nicole, you're not off the hook with our question here.
No.
So what's a lesson that you could share with us that you learned that you find you reflect back on often?
Well, I was a weird child I should say teenager. Work has always been something that has been important to me. At the age of 17, I had 2 jobs and, got through high school sooner, had my day end, and I went to work. And so work, that ethic I don't know where it came from. It just was there. And so I was always the youngest person. I'm a 16-year-old kid working with my store manager. I always worked in retail. And this woman who was my leader at the time, she saw some of these qualities in me that I didn't understand. I was just there to collect my $5.50 an hour, and
$5.50.
She challenged me. She would ask me questions on how I would think that things should be done. So I started doing like planogram resets and going to the store at 5 a.m. and age didn't matter. Age wasn't a part of the equation. She was just willing to take the time, and she noticed that I would put in the initiative to ask those questions and do things. So when I have people come to my company to start working and work for us, no question is silly. They're able to speak their mind and try to learn. And, I get it all the time. Hey, quick question for you, quick question. And so it's just one of those things where you learn to embrace people differently, and regardless if they've been in supply chain and logistics for 20 years or they're new to it, just embrace your people and lift them to the next, and they'll take that initiative. They're not afraid to go, I might mess up here, because they know if they do, they're learning and their leaders support that.
Wow. Hey, real quick, Jamin, do you want to challenge our audience? Hey, share with us. I mean, you've heard Trey and Nicole weigh in on eureka moments early in their career and leadership takeaways. Y'all chime in. Tell us what works and what really stands out in your journey. So, Jamin.
Hey, Scott, real quick. You know what's interesting is Nicole and I both referenced stories from when we were 16 years old. It's such a formative time.
Agreed.
Maybe for the parents out there, if your kids are like 14 and they're like, think they know everything, there's still hope that they can learn something, that they can, get that moment.
That's such a great point, Trey, because Nicole, what I really liked about that chapter in your life is how whoever you worked for was letting you be more responsible for things. They weren't just giving you one little task here, one little task there. They were entrusting you, which I bet was a huge boon in your, your learning. Right?
It does. It lets you understand when you're making mistakes or you're doing things that it's all for a purpose, and you're able to push forward with that. So it was very impactful for me.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of feedback around whether it's new employees or whether it's interns, and some of the it seems like some of the prevalent advice is, hey, don't just bring on interns. Entrust them with something that's important to the business and let them, take the ball and run with it. And I think in this day and age where risk management, risk mitigation is, of course, it's important, but still you gotta give these folks meaningful work, right?
Yeah.
Got to be an incubator for them to learn on the job and have people who would oversee that and help them along the way to learn those lessons. But it's so powerful when somebody says, hey, we need this done. I trust you to do it. Go do it. Let me know what you figure out. Let me know what you find out. Let's talk about it later. It's empowering.
Love it.
Yeah, that really is. How do you, this question for either of you, I've seen before, and this will happen and, run into on brokerage floors at different places where we'll see potential and nurture someone just getting into the business,
Yep.
A younger person, not maybe literally by age, but even to the business. But then year 5, maybe year 10, how do you keep your people or even yourselves in that growth mindset and not like, hey, I know this business now and just sort of shut it down and coast?
Nicole, that one's for you.
I was like, oh, it's a big one. Well, I mean, it really depends too, because there are some people that you see as a manager or as a leader that are really just there to work. And there's nothing wrong with having those people that don't want to, go outside of the scope or do things out of their comfort zones. You still offer those types of things to them. But I think all of us see it. I mean, we see it in children's eyes, employees' eyes, friends' eyes, when they're looking at you with this questionable sense, and usually when you notice someone like that, even early in their journey, I haven't had it where they've really lost that, because it's kind of a characteristic where people are like, okay, I want to do this. And you can just see those traits and that constant, how do I improve and what do I do? And I think those type of people's leaders tend to kind of cling to a little bit and try to continually coach a little bit more. And so for me, I know that I have so much to learn, and I want to keep learning. And I think by showing that to people and actually leading a company or being a manager to a company, and they know that you're not walking around with that stick saying, I know everything, and that you're still in that same boat. I think it opens up the environment and it sets an aura that you're into that. And I think people will respond to that if that's what they want to. But I think it's okay if there are people that are not constantly striving. You have to help them along, but you just see that little glimmer sometimes with people.
Yes.
That curiosity, that childlike curiosity.
Yeah. They could any age.
I would add to that. I think also vision is so important to keep moving the goalposts in a way. And I mean that in a positive way, not in a negative way. But, it's like if you're teaching a kid to climb a mountain, you don't take him to the mountain first and say, let's climb it. You say, let's climb these rocks right here. And then let's take another path and go a little higher. And you're constantly kind of pushing that goal line, that end zone. And I think even with people that have been with your organization for 5 to 10 years, you can still go to another place no matter where you are. But as a leader, you have to cast that vision and hold on to that vision and then set the whys for that, but get them to buy into that so that there's always something to work towards and keep moving towards, something greater to achieve. And I think that's how you keep people engaged.
Love that. All right. So let's take a few comments from the audience here. So Lucky via LinkedIn says, hey, Nicole, well said. In South America, I believe it's quite different. Majority of old people are intermediate by us upcoming youth. They don't want to learn and improve their skills. Interesting perspective from Lucky there. Sophia says that's a key, knowing the reason behind what you're doing, having a purpose. And Nicole, I know you mentioned Simon Sinek, infamous knowing the why. And then I also want to share 2 others real quick here. So Amanda weighs in, talking about her greatest leadership lesson was from her cheerleading coach around 16 years old too. So evidently 16 years old is
impressionable time. It's a big time.
So she challenged us to do more than what we thought we could and believed in us, inspired us, punished us when we deserved it, and fought with us as we were fighting to improve and win. She still remembers the competition cheer routine too. I know she does. All right. One final comment comes from Pat. Pat says he started working at a beer distributor when he was 18. I learned there to take pride in what you do. The warehouse workers I worked with took tremendous pride in what they did, even though it wasn't the most glamorous job. And that always instilled in me to do so as well in whatever that he was doing. Great sentiment there, Pat. And you know what?
Full example.
One of the things I love about Pat's response there, whether it's in a warehouse environment or manufacturing plant or a distribution facility, you name it, is the salt of the earth people, or that you go to the Gemba. And I mean, those are the great people that we all stand on the shoulders of, that keep, end-to-end supply chain moving forward, business moving forward. And that's been one of my favorite aspects of my journey.
Absolutely agree with that. It's like we were saying at the outset, it's all about the people. We're very fortunate to be in this business with so many great people.
Agreed. Jamin, one quick clarification. It wasn't South America. My apologies, Lucky. It was South Africa. And I should have known that, because as Lucky came on, he mentioned that. So my apologies, Lucky. All right. So, Jamin, we're going to keep driving. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So very simple. How did you get into logistics and transportation? No one does this on purpose, right?
Now they do.
No.
Yes, they do now. Yeah. Go
Trey,
ahead.
How about we'll go with you first?
All right. So it's funny. My dad was a local city truck driver, but I really didn't know anything about transportation or logistics. I didn't really understand much about what he did, even though I spent my summers riding in his cab and throwing the racquetball against the warehouses as a kid, which was a good memory. But the way that I got into it is I started my career as a teacher. I was a high school physics teacher, taught high school calculus, and did a little middle school teaching in there as well. I did some youth ministry as well. And, as we started to transition our family, I realized that one teacher income wasn't really going to make it. We wanted my wife to be a homemaker. That's what she wanted to do. And so the teaching gig kind of, ran its course, and I had to find something else. I had a friend say, hey, I think you should get into sales. I think you have the personality for it. I think you would do well. You're competitive. So I tried to get into sales. I finally found a job doing door-to-door office supply sales in Portland, Oregon, of all places, where it rains 6 months a year. Oh. And that's a whole nother story for another day. But I did that for 15 months. I figured it out. I cut my teeth. I learned a lot about sales and being able to talk to anybody and relate to people. And then I went for a real sales job, one that had a base plus commission, not just commission only. And I went to a recruiter because I didn't know how to do it. And that recruiter just happened to have a connection with DAT Solutions in Portland, Oregon, a company I didn't know anything about, and an industry that I didn't even know existed. I mean, I always go to Walmart and buy my toilet paper and my food, but how did it get there? And I never really thought about that until I started working at DAT and learned about this industry of freight brokers and truckload carriers and all of that. And it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around, everything that worked out. But that's basically how I got in, was an opportunity to become a sales rep at DAT and just enjoy the industry, and found out that there's a great people in this industry, that it's a very stable industry. I mean, no matter what's happening in the economy, people still need to go buy groceries from the grocery store, and they have to get there somehow. So it's a fabulous industry to be in. But that's kind of my quick story of how I got in, was just through a recruiter that happened to, if they had a connection with Nike, I'd be in the apparel industry right now, more than likely.
I like that.
Yeah, that is really
Nicole,
cool.
How about for you?
Well, I was a kid. I was 18 and I got recruited. This guy came into one of the retail stores that I was working, and he offered me a job, and I went, who does that? You're an 18-year-old kid. But I actually was one of those little ADP delivery parts gals with the little Ford Ranger truck for automotive retail. Yeah. And used to work the parts counter at a retail store. And he offered me this job because I remembered a weird fact about his order. So I did the whole, let's drive to this business card address at night, looking in the window. I'm like, okay, this looks legit. And so I just made the call, and it actually became, my day job. And I was in college at night, and it was a really cool experience. I think I've been kind of telling the story a little bit more recently, but he basically made me put a headset on and the split microphone and the mute, and he legitimately trained me on how to listen to people and how to pull out what they were saying without what they were saying. It would be a pause, it would be a sigh. And I was training to be a broker, so it was like, oh, your customer's calling, it's 4:00. Hold on, they need you. So it was just this really, really intense training that was awesome for me. And then I got to hop into a different company after that and really see the truck driving side. I had owner operators that would work. I would get their back calls. And so, it was full force, they'd call me like, why aren't you moving my truck? I'm like, right. So it was a really cool beginning, and it really showed me relationships, because we didn't have Trey, how you're saying that the DAT was a daily printout that came to our fax machine.
Oh, you're aging yourself now, my friend.
We had a DAT computer. That's all it did was stuff for the DAT. So it was all about relationships at that time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. With both of you, I just hear so much. It just keeps resonating in a lot of your answers about training and being coached up and having people believe in you and pushing you. I really want to keep that with me, because that's really standing out.
Quick comment from the audience here. Stefan says he always has the highest respect for people going to school and working. I only did this during my MBA. Rewarding, but no life. Just school, work, study, sleep, and all over again. Rinse and repeat. Good stuff there from Stefan. Nicole, can I ask you a question? And we didn't talk about this in the warm up, but as a woman-owned business in the logistics and supply chain industry, there was a report that came out not too long. Gartner put out that was talking about representation at the senior levels. And we got a lot more work to do to really provide opportunities for all. I don't want to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot a little bit, how any insight you can share in terms of how we can make sure that we're really inviting all types of folks from all different walks of life to come into the industry, or a different question, if you'd rather the second one, how can we make sure we have advancement opportunities for all? Any comments there?
Well, I mean, it's just really looking at the individuals that are coming in and trying to nurture that. I might be the wrong person to answer this question. I know I'm a female, but I've never felt that things have been put against me in what I've done. And what I mean by that is maybe I've put the blinders on and not let that affect me. So if I have a male and a female candidate, I'm going to actually try to go with the best candidate, regardless of gender. I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to almost stop putting such an onus on some of these things and truly pick who the best candidate is. Or if there is a female that's good for a role that needs some coaching, put her in that spot and give her that chance, And I think that's where I've been very fortunate is it didn't matter if I was a younger female, whatever. And that's really what made me excel was I didn't feel any different than the men that I was working next to, Awesome. And I think if you make that your mindset, that's where you can get some limitations.
Love that.
I'd like to add to this too, if I could.
Please.
I think it's a snowball effect that is just going to continue as we move along if we do the right things. As a dad of two daughters, I want there to be opportunity when they're ready to do that. My oldest daughter is very entrepreneurial. She's always trying to figure out how to make money, whether it be a lemonade stand or she likes to bake things. She likes to babysit.
Love that.
So she's already thinking that way. And so as a dad, I'm thinking, how can I foster that? And one is it's encouraging her that she can do anything that she wants to do and just continue to push that message. But two, and I think this is most powerful, is to find successful women in business that I can push her towards, that I can have her spend time with as a role model. Because as much as she loves me, as much as we have a great relationship, we're going to walk different paths in life just because of that fact. But if she can, connect with somebody like Nicole, somebody like, Lindsay Graves at Sunset, who's a good friend of mine, and other incredibly successful women in our industry and other industries, that's going to give her a vision for what it can be. And then she'll have those blinders like Nicole that says, I want this, I'm going to go do it, and nothing's going to stop me. Right. So I think for the dad, it's a part of putting that vision and getting the right contacts for her.
Yeah, and I think even I have a 15-year-old daughter too, and it's just letting her know that she is absolutely no different. Her opportunities should be no less, and just go get whatever you want, and don't let anyone stop you. It doesn't matter gender or anything. Just go get it.
What we hear a lot about as we dive into these topics and the conversations that we're part of is it's so important to have role models, and so folks can see what is the art of the possible, and not just, it's, as we all know, it's not just male, female. There's all sorts of walks of life, right? And so, Nicole, I really appreciate the role model you're being, and kind of what you just put it there.
Yes.
You're just gonna put full speed ahead and break through any obstacles. And what you may or may not know, but I'm sure of it, are folks are watching you, and you're inspiring others to tell them they can do the same thing. And it's so important. So I appreciate you and Trey's sentiment there as we try to solve the workforce. It's going to be, the $1 trillion question, workforce here across supply chain. All right. So, Jamin, actually, hang on one second. Greg has an interesting, I think he liked what was shared there too. So Greg says, put the blinders on. What a great strategy. Press through, make it happen. No doubt there is bias, but I have 3 strong daughters that refuse to be limited by it.
Yep.
Excellent there, Greg. And Amanda mentioned earlier how mentoring is so important for women in particular. So good stuff there, Amanda. All right. So Jamin, getting us back on track. What's next?
Amanda brings up a great point. Mentoring. Let's give you a chance to maybe not talk about yourself for a minute. Sometimes it's not always. It's better to brag on other people. Who are some mentors? And it doesn't have to be work related, if you will. Who are some mentors throughout your life that you'd like to brag on and have really helped shape, what's made you successful today? We'll start with you, Nicole.
This is a tough one because there's so many people, I attribute so many things to my parents, to my grandparents that have taught me how to keep things simple, be humble, keep working hard, to my best friend who tries to keep me to have that humanitarian side of me. And she brings me back down to understand some of that when I lose some of that sometimes. My children, I can keep going on and on, different authors, having conversations, even with you, Jamin, when we first met in March, and we were talking about how we were pressing forward with this concept of educating people. And it's so many, even small conversations throughout really your entire life on people who plant seeds. Some people who plant seeds on things you don't want to do. I've had those mentors as well. I call them my reverse mentoring people. But then some people that I've worked for, they've gave me some tough love and tried to challenge me. But my answers are just so many different individuals.
I really appreciate that point, though, both in diversity of mentors and you highlighted even small conversations can have a huge impact. So that's a good reminder for us that even sometimes our small words of encouragement or advice, we don't know how those seeds will blossom down the road for somebody. I really like how you put that.
Well put.
How about you, Trey?
Yeah, well, my answer is going to be somewhat similar, but I'm going to give a few shout outs. It's a lot of people that have helped me become who I am and will continue to be that way. First of all, my wife, who's my best friend and my partner. I've known her for longer than or more than half of my life. And so she's my exact opposite. And so she helps me see the world differently and push me to be better and see things from new perspectives. And there's always been a huge support in the career moves that I've made and the crazy journey that I've taken. So I have to give her a huge shout out. But outside of that, I look back on the people who were very foundational for me growing up, specifically my coaches. My basketball coach, my golf coach in high school were tremendous. My college basketball coach and golf coach were tremendous as well. A gentleman named Ed Cunliffe, who will probably never be on this podcast. He's not in or he won't hear it. He's not in transportation, but he taught me to remove the limitations that I have in my mind. To think much bigger than I could ever think for myself was really huge. And I have to go to, the last 12 months, Jamin, meeting with people like you and like Nicole and now Scott and, and JD and TJ and Michael and just all, I could go, the list goes on, Kyle and everybody in our network that we've really kind of, created this massive synergy around in the last 12 months has really pushed me to be greater, to believe in myself even more. To share more, to give more, to see everybody's point of view and perspective better. It's really been tremendous this past year, but it really is a village that has impacted me and some really special people along the way.
I love that.
We need to just add on a second hour of the show to dive into those last 2 answers from Nicole and Trey. Here's something I want to share, and I can't, for some reason, I can't see which LinkedIn user shared this sentiment. So. He or she says mentoring, networking, and leadership development, the 3 pillars that will push our industry forward. We get caught up in the hard skills, but the soft skills are just as important. Good stuff there.
100%.
Speaking of 100%, Jasmine says that she 100% agrees that having a mentor in your life to expand your mindset is highly valuable. Non-judgmental, selfless, giving people, they are blessings. That
Truly.
is very well put. Finally, Keith Duckworth. Exactly, Trey. Being schooled as a mathematician and physicist. Wow, this guy's well above my pay grade. then trained as an IT engineer and supply chain person, I sometimes lose the ability to connect as a human with other humans. It's my wife and others that help me stay connected with people. Good stuff there from Keith.
Self-awareness is great, Keith.
Yeah.
Good example.
Absolutely. All right. So I kind of hate to move on to the next question. I've enjoyed these last couple so much. Jamin, what's next?
Yeah, well, let's hear what y'all are up to now. So Trey, we'll start with you. What part of the logistics and transportation industry are you in on now, and what exciting stuff do you have going on?
Yeah, well, I'm just honored to be the vice president of Lean Sales, which is a division of Lean Staffing Solutions. You know, my tenure in transportation has really been in technology as a salesperson in technology, and just learned a lot of stuff along the way. This is an opportunity for me to take all those things I've learned and build a division within a company, within an incredible company. Lean Staffing is just a phenomenal organization. And so I get to help other companies now with their sales processes. You know, what we do is we focus on helping them get the right people, you know, through recruiting, vetting, and training them for sales, particularly. Help with sales support roles like lead generation, lead qualification, and the sales processes. Because what a lot of people miss out on is they just try to hire a top-notch sales guy. You know, somebody with experience who's done well, but they forget to give them the tools. It'd be like hiring a carpenter who's really great at building houses and only giving them a hammer and nails. Like, they'll get the house built, but it's going to take a long time. Let's give them the right tools and the right processes to really make them thrive. And
it's going to be a really ugly house too.
Yeah,
it would be. Yeah. So it's exciting to be able to take the things that I've learned and the amazing people that I have in my life, and then go to companies in transportation and say, how can we help you generate revenue faster? How can we help your sales organization run smoother? How can we put the tools in place for your team to really thrive and enjoy their job more? And so it's a matter of putting that together and being a holistic sales solutions provider in the industry. And I'm very excited to be doing it, working with some tremendous people in the industry.
Trey, you know, as I was doing my homework prior to, revenue generation seems to be Lean Sales North Star, and there's so many organizations and leaders that, whether it's a challenging year like 2020, where they're struggling with rev gen, or if it's I hate to call any normal year, but if it's a year unlike 2020, it's still a common challenge, right?
Yeah. No, it is. And I think, you know, it comes down to getting the foundation in place. It's like, I'm an IndyCar fan, so I love watching racing. And when you're putting a race car together, you've got to get all the parts together. You got to get them running really well in order for that thing to actually run the way it's supposed to run and to compete. And I think that's true of sales organizations. You have to get all the pieces in place, no matter what type of environment that you're in, to really thrive and be competitive and be top notch. It's just in this type of environment, you have to just do a little bit more work because it's a little more challenging. The numbers have to go up. I'm completely a numbers guy. And so it's a numbers game. And so the numbers just have to go up a little bit, but you still have to have a lot of those, you know, personal aspects, the relationship building, but all of that is conducive or it's optimized when all the pieces are working together. And that's where revenue generation really takes off. And you start to see companies do great is when they put all that together.
Well put. And Nick, you're right. Nick says every year brings its own challenges. You're right.
Spot on.
Spot on.
Also, I want to go back right before we switch over and get Nicole's take on some of the things she's leading. Let's see. We were talking earlier about those 3 pillars moving the industry forward. That was Alfred A.P. Parker the fourth that shared that. So thank you for that, Lucky. All right, Jamin, we're gonna get our finger on the pulse of what Nicole's up to, right?
Yes, and actually, Nicole, this isn't fair, but you're going to get kind of 2 questions here because I want to hear what exciting stuff you're up to. But to start, if you could share with us where you came up with the name for Candor, Expedite, and the story behind the name. I totally dig it.
Yeah, I mean, being in logistics for 20 years, we've all seen it in brokerage, right? It's my driver's here, or this broke down, and I mean, you get used to that kind of mentality that it's not truthful. There's a lot of, you know, not truth. I mean, just I don't even know the word to say for that. That happens.
Lies, outright
dishonesty, deception.
And so even before I opened Candor, it was something that I thought would be a great company name because I wanted to lead something not only with our clients, but with our service providers, that they knew that we weren't going to be one of those companies that would do the bait and switch on loads. And even our employees, there's absolutely no lies that need to happen in our company, whether it's they're not happy with what they're doing or they need clarification. They're able to speak out on that. I tell them, I want you to be forthright and talk about it. I even brought a lady in to start working for us, and we had a truck breakdown, and she's like, wait, we're going to tell the customer that? I'm like, yes, we don't have to come up with some sort of crazy story. We'll get that certificate that the unit actually broke down. So having that truth in what we're doing is so important, and it's being transparent with every single person that's involved with the process. So I'm like, I want to do this and just keep everything on the up and up. And Candor will have different divisions of that with different types of company names that still follow that mindset of just being truth, honest, and transparent.
And there's power in a name. That sets the tone for your culture. So I love it. I mean, there's power in the name.
Yeah, and it's fun too because even designing the logo, how it has the dot in the middle, people thought I was saying it as can do type of concept, but no, it's actually, I wanted people to see that from the dictionary. That's actually how you pull it out of the dictionary and you see it that way. So it just rings out loud. So
I appreciate how intentional you are. That has to really resonate within the organization, like Trey was saying.
Yeah, it's something that we actually put as a value. The veracity is one of our values that we live by every single day.
Now that was Scott looked it up and shared the definition with me, but that was a new word to me, to be totally honest with you. Veracity, what does that mean?
Scott said it beautifully. So go for it, Scott.
Well, Nicole, I never hear that phrase ever. So
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. But I also love how you arrived at this name. And so when I saw veracity in your part of your bio, I did look it up, and a couple definitions, but the one that really stood out to me and will be between my ears for some time to come is habitual truthfulness. That, I mean, it shouts exactly what it means there. So Nicole, I love it. And we need a lot more, in business and for that matter, in leadership, transparency and empathy, and these major themes we talked about in this conversation today. We don't have enough of that. So I admire how you're leading via example.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. And then, so how is that then resonating with what fun stuff you're doing at Candor? If you could share that with us, what are you doing?
Candor is an expedited white glove company, brokerage firm, going on we're through our third year. And we've really just gotten our structure down. Thank you. I say birthday all the time. We just really got that, that structure and that workflow down of, having everything very segmented in regards to helping our clients and our carriers and even our people. So we focus on really elevating and lifting our clients through the process when they're having challenging shipments, So that final hour where they're going, holy cow, SAP said one thing and we don't have it here. So can you help us out? So we're trying to always be there for our customers with those critical, holy cow, hair on fire, or even just that high visibility type of shipments that happen often where they go, I just need to have a trusted resource, a partner on this that can really walk all the way through with the shipment and put a bow on it for our clients to keep our clients happy. So our whole concept is to help our customers keep commitments to their customers. And that's the simplest way that we can say it. And then we've also been growing our white glove. We see that e-commerce is booming. We're getting more into this final mile concept. So staying in this niche arm of helping clients with specialty equipment, going into doctor's offices or room of choice type of deliveries, or going into a gas station, delivering an oven, whatever the case is. It's just having that capability of of walking drivers through that, through expectations and helping our clients get all of that freight delivered into these specialty locations. So it's been awesome on staying in this niche spot. I love it.
Wow.
All right, so we're gonna we want to make sure we connect our listeners to Trey and Nicole and make sure they know how to find them. Real quick, 2 quick comments though that I really like here. One comes from Keith Duckworth. I love your philosophy, Nicole. Bad news does not get better with age. It's not like cheese or wine, and no one likes to be blindsided with it. That is so true. And then Stefan here says, at first, being direct and honest seems strange, but the appreciation you get back is surprising if you're not used to it. So, just tell them like it is. That saves everybody so much time and heartburn, and you know exactly what you're dealing with, so you can make other decisions. So I love how you've baked that. Everyone here has baked that into their approach. Okay, so Jamin, let's find out how we can get in touch with Trey and Nicole. Nicole, let's start with you. How can our listeners connect with you?
Well, I am very active on LinkedIn, so I know that there's going to be a link there for you guys to just click my profile. I love to comment and have discussions with people, so start with the messaging, but you can also go to candorexp.com, and that will lead you to our website to take a look at our URL there.
Awesome. That's simple. And to our listeners, we also included the LinkedIn profile in the show notes of this episode to make it really easy. All right. So Trey, same question to you. How can our listeners find you?
Yeah, likewise. I was going to get my phone number out, but maybe I shouldn't do that. But so I'm on LinkedIn as well. It's a great way to connect. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I will give you my phone number. That's kind of how it works. But please reach out on LinkedIn. I love to connect, love to comment, love to engage, and just meet some incredible people and create content that I hope you'll appreciate. But you can also go to our website, which is leanstaffingsolutions.com. That's LEAN staffingsolutions.com. And there you can see all of the divisions of our company and all the offerings that we have there.
Yeah, well put. Good stuff there, Nicole and Trey. All right, Jamin, I hate to bring this episode to a close. We've had, from a blocking and tackling to a big, heavy leadership theme to just the personal stories in Nicole and Trey's journey. We've had a little bit of everything. That truly that Baskin-Robbins approach, and I really enjoyed your approach here. So, what's your one? If you had to share your big key takeaway from this conversation with Nicole and Trey, what would that be?
Yes, and I agree with you. It's a blast learning from Nicole and Trey and getting their viewpoints. I would say what kept resonating to me and what I really feel like I learned from both of them today in our conversation is two-sided part of it, to seek out mentors or opportunities to get input from other people, but then also to be someone that is doing that, being willing to mentor other people or share lessons learned, and in a positive way, push people and show them a side of themselves that they may be blind to. Show them, that you believe in them and what they can become, and help push them. So some real intentional coaching and taking coaching has really stuck out to me today.
Well put. And Greg, I echo what you say. Jamin, great job. You're a great addition to the team. Honored to share this startup life with you.
And check out Tequila Sunrise.
That's right.
Tech Tequila Sunrise.
Yeah, so, we like to say around here, deeds, not words. And, Nicole and Trey, I'm really pleased to meet both y'all for the first time, but action and real action, you can hear it coming right across the way you talk and communicate and answer Jamin's questions and roll with the punches. I mean, that's the beautiful thing that I love about supply chain, because lip service doesn't get you far. So really appreciate y'all coming on here today. Again, Nicole Glenn, owner of Candor Expedite, and Trey Griggs, Vice President with Lean Sales, which again is a division of Lean Staffing Solutions. Thanks to each of you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. So, Jamin, looking forward to your upcoming next couple episodes around the Jamin Logistics and Transportation Experience. Always good stuff there. And to our audience, hey, you are why we do what we do. We love the comments and the questions and the insights that they really delivered today. They really did, didn't it, Jamin? We needed a whole hour dedicated to those comments. But hey, to our listeners, thanks for your time. You can check us out at supplychainnowradio.com for a wide variety of podcasts and live streams and a lot more. We challenge our audience just like we challenge ourselves along these lines about deeds, not words. It's about, do good, give forward, and be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.